What's up, everybody? How's it going out there? Today we're going to be making some pita bread, and the reason why I'm making pita bread is, well, I'm going to be making a Reuben sandwich, but I'm going to be using pita bread for it. And I've already made homemade Thousand Island dressing. You can find the recipe on this channel, or you can find it on my website, drchillskitchen.com, where I have all my recipes. But also I have my homemade pastrami, which is also on drchillskitchen.com, and you can see how you can make your own homemade pastrami. But we're going to end up having to make some pita bread, and so let's go ahead and get started with that. I'm only going to be making a little bit, so there's no reason for me to use a lot of yeast, but you want to use maybe about a tablespoon of yeast. This is going to end up, yeah, that's enough. If you were going to be making for a lot of people, obviously you would end up increasing the amount of yeast, but a tablespoon's enough for 1 or 2 people, and it's okay if you add more. Just don't add less. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some sugar. It's about a tablespoon. So right here is 1/4 cup. This is whole wheat, okay? But you can use just all-purpose if you want to. I'm just doing this to add a little bit something, something. And 1 cup of all-purpose flour. Okay. A little bit of olive oil to this. I'm going to end up adding about 2 tablespoons. Alright, so here is 1/4 cup. I'm going to put this on low, and I don't really know for sure exactly how much water I need to add until I start adding it. Because it's all about consistency. So after this, it'll be 3/4 cup. We're looking for something that's kind of sticky, okay? Generally when I'm making breads, and you guys, if you've watched some of my older videos about this, you would know, when I'm making breads, I'm looking for something that's semi-sticky, but it's closer to not being sticky, like when I'm making rolls or breads. But in the case of a pita, we want something to be slightly sticky. Okay, do you see the consistency of that right there? That's actually kind of what I'm looking for. It might actually end up being a little too sticky right now, but as time goes by, during the time that we're mixing this, gluten is going to end up building up, and a lot of that water is going to absorb even more into that flour, and then we might end up having something that's going to be just the right amount of stickiness, because when it's done, it should be slightly sticky when it's done, okay? And right now, obviously, it's very sticky, but if we lift this up, okay, and I go like this, do you see how it just sticks to my fingers? That is too sticky. That's too sticky. Okay. So let's go ahead and knead this for about 5 minutes. Okay. And after we knead this for about 5 minutes and some of that gluten builds up, we can test the stickiness again. All right. Judging by this, I'm going to be adding maybe a tablespoon of flour, judging by that, okay? Okay, that is better. I'm going to add just about a tablespoon more, and after that, I'm going to call it good. That's good. Okay, so this consistency right here is good. It's sticky, but it isn't sticky. But it is leaning more to the side of stickiness than non-stickiness, if that makes sense. Okay. That, in other words, it's a little bit more sticky than a typical bread dough that you would use for like rolls and things. Okay. But I think that we're good here. And I'm just going to mix this a little bit longer, maybe another 3 or 4 minutes. Build up that gluten. You'll know that you have the gluten built up because it'll seem elastic. The dough won't really want to tear. It's gonna be more like a rubber band. Okay, and due to the magic of television, it has been a few minutes, and got a little bit of gluten built up here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be scraping down the bowl, if I can. Okay, and just going to cover it with Saran wrap. Now I'm not going to wait for it to double in size or anything like that, like you typically would when you're baking bread. for this right here to gain just an inch or two in size is going to be enough. I just want this yeast to become a little bit more active before I decide to go ahead and start rolling it out. I also want to make sure that the flour has time to absorb all of that water and all that olive oil and stuff like that. Make this a little less sticky, okay? Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes and you can see, pop, it poofed up and it's not as sticky as it once was, and that's kind of what we're looking for here. So let me put some flour on my cutting board. Okay, and now what I'm doing is just taking this and rolling it around a little bit on that. The amount of flour that I want is about that big. It's about 3/4 the size of a baseball or maybe a tennis ball, something like that. Okay. And I want this to be rolled out to about yay big, and we want this to be probably no thicker than maybe 1/4 of an inch. It'll pool and then it'll shrink. Okay, but essentially we do want to end with something that is round. So if we take this and we just kind of let the elasticity of it kind of go back, you're going to see that it's going to end up shrinking. Okay, now at this point we can go ahead and let these rest again if we wanted to, or we can just immediately go ahead and throw these on the frying pan, or we can bake them too. You can bake these like on a baker stone in a really hot oven. I'm going to do this in a frying pan just so I don't have to clean up as much stuff and it uses so much electricity. Anytime that you're cooking with something that's got a non-stick surface like this, you have to be a little careful, because right around 600 degrees, a lot of times this non-stick surface will actually start letting out a toxic gas. So you want to kind of keep it under that if possible. That's definitely not a good thing. And in this case, I'm going to go medium hot here, medium high. We're going to take the pita bread and just kind of set it inside here. And what we're going to see here in just a second, there's no oil or nothing, but what we're going to see is the bottom will start wanting to cook first, obviously, because it's on touching the pan. It'll start creating a little bit of bubbles here and there. We do not want this to go full bubble. We only want to see part bubbles, okay? And as soon as we see a little bit of bubbling going on, some air pockets, we're going to flip it, okay? And then after we flip it, we're going to see even more air pockets. And then when it's almost completely done, we're going to flip it again, okay? And we're going to kind of go back and forth that way, and that way we can make sure that we have it fully cooked as well as we get the pocket in there that we're looking for. So at this point you may start to see that there's starting to be little bubbles that are kind of showing up on this, okay? And I just want it to be a little bit more bubbly than this. And then I'm going to flip it for the first time. Okay. Now this time around what we want is to see a lot more bubbles before we decide to flip it for the Okay, here we go. There we go. We're starting to get the whole football thing. As soon as we see it a little bit more than half, we can flip it again. Okay, as soon as we see it a little bit more than half, that's good. We let that balloon up nicely. We'll just give it a minute or so, and then we can take it out. We just want to make sure that this cooks completely, but we'll take it out, and then we can go to the next one. But that's essentially, guys, how you end up making your pita. Looks like a giant oyster cracker. And there you go, guys, homemade pita bread. And I'm going to be using this to make a pita Reuben sandwich. So if you want to see that, check out my other recipes. And looky there, that's a pocket. That is a pocket.